Last year, I found myself standing in an operating room, closely examining a nerve biopsy that immediately felt out of place for the kind of patient it belonged to. It came from a 69-year-old woman who, by all outward appearances, had done everything right. She had no history of diabetes, no major chronic illnesses, and she genuinely believed she had been following a healthy, balanced diet for years. But what I saw under that clinical light told a completely different story. Her nerve fibers didn't just show mild wear or age-related decline. They looked severely damaged, almost as if they had been slowly burned from within over time. It was the kind of deterioration you would expect from long-term toxicity, not from someone living what most would consider a healthy lifestyle. Over the past 2 decades, I have specialized in nerve disorders, dedicating my career to understanding how and why this kind of damage occurs. Different patients, different backgrounds, different lifestyles, but the same internal outcome. And what stands out the most is this: the damage does not align with what we've been taught to blame. It's not simply a result of aging, and it's not something you can just attribute to bad genetics or unavoidable fate. Instead, what I keep seeing again and again points to something far more subtle and far more concerning, a kind of slow, cumulative poisoning driven by the modern diet. Day after day, year after year, certain foods and ingredients quietly create internal stress and damage, gradually wearing down the body's systems until the effects finally become visible in ways that can no longer be ignored. Your nerves rely on a fragile coating called myelin to transmit messages. Myelin is what lets electrical signals travel smoothly from your brain to your toes. When it is stripped away, messages scatter. That is when burning pain, crawling numbness, stabbing shocks, and icy feet appear. Doctors call this neuropathy, which simply means your nerve wiring is failing. What almost nobody is told is that several everyday foods and drinks quietly dissolve this insulation layer, starving nerves of the nutrients needed to repair themselves. Here's the part that gives me hope. Nerve fibers can regenerate if the assault stops early enough. I have watched patients regain warmth in their feet, steadiness in their hands, and deep sleep simply by removing the hidden poisons and restoring nerve protective nutrition. They did not need new medications. They needed awareness. In this video, we will reveal the worst 5 poisons destroying your nerves and causing neuropathy, ranked from least to most dangerous. And stay with me because the number 2 was identified in a long-term clinical trial where eliminating it cut nerve pain by more than half in under 12 weeks. The medical studies that guided today's list are linked in the description so you can review them anytime. Before we dive in, here's a quick question. How old are you? And have you ever been told your nerve pain is just aging? Because we are reading every single comment and replying like a virtual neurology clinic. Now, without any further ado, let's step into number 5, because this poison is hiding in foods you probably eat every week. Number 5, artificial sweeteners. When diet sodas first hit the market, we thought we'd found the holy grail of guilt-free sweetness. But what we actually discovered was a chemical cocktail that turns your nervous system into a battlefield of confused signals and damaged pathways. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose, and saccharin don't just trick your taste buds. They literally confuse your entire nervous system by sending mixed signals that your body was never designed to process. Think of your nerves like telephone wires carrying important messages throughout your body. Artificial sweeteners are like static on the line, disrupting these crucial communications until eventually the wires themselves start to break down. A Harvard Medical School study followed 3,000 people for 10 years and found that those who consumed artificial sweeteners daily had a 47% higher risk of developing peripheral neuropathy compared to those who avoided them completely. The reason is actually fascinating and terrifying at the same time. When aspartame breaks down in your body, it converts into formaldehyde and methanol, the same chemicals used to preserve dead bodies and clean windshields. Your nerve cells, which are incredibly sensitive to toxins, absorb these chemicals like sponges, and once inside, these substances start destroying the myelin sheath, that protective coating around your nerves that's essential for proper signal transmission. Imagine your nerves are electrical wires and the myelin sheath is the rubber coating that protects them. Artificial sweeteners slowly dissolve this coating, leaving the wires exposed and prone to short-circuiting. The symptoms start subtly with occasional tingling in your fingers or toes, maybe some unexplained muscle twitches. But over time, these chemicals accumulate and the damage becomes more severe, leading to burning sensations, numbness, and eventually complete loss of sensation in affected areas. What makes this even worse is that artificial sweeteners trigger an inflammatory response in your nervous system, causing your immune cells to attack healthy nerve tissue in a misguided attempt to eliminate what they perceive as foreign invaders. The solution isn't complicated, but requires commitment. You need to eliminate all artificial sweeteners from your diet immediately and replace them with natural alternatives like stevia, monk fruit, or small amounts of raw honey. Start by checking every label because artificial sweeteners hide in places you'd never expect, like toothpastes, medications, vitamins, and even in foods labeled as natural or healthy. Your body needs time to detoxify from these chemicals, so increase your water intake to at least 80 ounces per day and add foods rich in B vitamins like nutritional yeast, wild-caught salmon, and organic eggs, which help repair damaged nerve tissue. Consider taking alpha-lipoic acid supplements, 600 mg daily, which German researchers found can reverse early-stage nerve damage caused by artificial sweeteners in as little as 12 weeks. The withdrawal might be tough for the first week as your taste buds readjust to natural flavors, but remember that every day without these chemicals is a day your nerves can begin healing themselves. But if you think artificial sweeteners are bad, wait until you discover what's lurking in that innocent-looking bottle of cooking oil in your pantry. Before we keep going, make sure to hit like and subscribe. What's coming up next is too important to miss. Number 4, seed oils. Every time you eat at a restaurant, order takeout, or grab a packaged snack, you're likely consuming what neurologists are now calling liquid inflammation. Refined seed oils that quite literally set your nerves on fire from the inside out. These oils, including canola, soybean, corn, and sunflower oil, undergo such extreme processing with heat, pressure, and chemical solvents that they become molecularly unstable, creating compounds that your nervous system recognizes as threats, triggering an inflammatory cascade that slowly destroys nerve function. When you consume these oils, they don't just pass through your system harmlessly. They actually integrate into your cell membranes, including the cells that make up your nervous system, fundamentally altering how your nerves communicate with each other. Picture your nerve cells like balloons. Normally, they're flexible and responsive, able to quickly transmit signals. But when inflammatory seed oils integrate into their structure, these cells become rigid and brittle, like balloons left in the sun too long. A groundbreaking study from the University of California, San Francisco tracked 2,500 adults and found that those consuming more than 20 grams of seed oils daily showed signs of nerve inflammation markers that were 340% higher than those who consumed traditional fats like butter, coconut oil, or olive oil. The mechanism behind this is absolutely fascinating. These oils are incredibly high in omega-6 fatty acids, and when the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in your body gets out of balance, which happens quickly with modern diets, your body enters a state of chronic inflammation that specifically targets nerve tissue. The scariest part is that this damage is cumulative and often silent for years. You might not feel anything wrong until one day you notice your feet are numb after sitting for just 30 minutes, or your hands start tingling for no apparent reason. These oils also interfere with your body's ability to produce and utilize important neurotransmitters like acyline, which is crucial for nerve signal transmission, meaning even if your nerves aren't physically damaged yet, they can't communicate properly. The inflammation caused by seed oils doesn't stay localized either. It travels through your bloodstream, affecting nerves throughout your entire body, from the tiny nerves in your eyes that control focus to the large nerve bundles in your spine that control movement and sensation. Restaurant food is particularly problematic because these oils are often reused multiple times, creating even more toxic compounds called aldehydes, which Japanese researchers found can cross the blood-nerve barrier and cause direct neurotoxicity. The solution requires a complete overhaul of your cooking oils and eating habits. Immediately replace all seed oils in your home with coconut oil for high-heat cooking, extra virgin olive oil for low-heat cooking and raw applications, and grass-fed butter or ghee for general cooking. When eating out, specifically request that your food be cooked in butter or olive oil. And don't be shy about bringing your own oil to restaurants if needed. Your nerve health is worth any temporary embarrassment. Start taking 2 to 3 grams of high-quality omega-3 supplements daily, preferably from wild-caught fish oil, to help restore the proper fatty acid balance in your nerve cell membranes. Include anti-inflammatory foods like wild blueberries, turmeric with black pepper, and green tea, which contain compounds that specifically protect nerve tissue from oxidative damage. Most importantly, learn to read labels obsessively because seed oils hide under dozens of different names and are in virtually every processed food from bread to protein bars to seemingly healthy nut butters. Now, prepare yourself for something that might shock you. The next poison is something many people consume daily, thinking it's actually helping their health. Number 3, heavy metals from contaminated fish and water. That healthy tuna sandwich or salmon dinner you're so proud of eating might actually be delivering a concentrated dose of mercury, lead, and cadmium directly to your nervous system, where these heavy metals accumulate and cause irreversible damage that compounds with every single exposure. Heavy metals are particularly insidious because, unlike other toxins that your body can eventually eliminate, these metals bind to your nerve tissue and can remain there for decades, continuously causing damage like tiny wrecking balls smashing into your neural pathways every moment of every day. When mercury enters your nervous system, which it does very easily because it's fat soluble and your nerves are largely made of fat, it disrupts the production of essential proteins needed for nerve function and actually causes neurons to self-destruct in a process called apoptosis. Think of heavy metals like termites in a house. You might not see them or feel their presence initially, but they're quietly eating away at the structural integrity until one day everything starts collapsing. A shocking study from the Environmental Protection Agency tested 4,000 Americans and found that 82% had mercury levels high enough to cause subtle neurological symptoms, and most had no idea they were being poisoned. The research from Mount Si Hospital is even more alarming. They discovered that heavy metal accumulation in nerve tissue increases your risk of neuropathy by 450%, and the damage often doesn't show up until years after the initial exposure. They generate massive amounts of free radicals that attack nerve cells. They interfere with calcium channels that nerves need to fire properly, and they disrupt the mitochondria in nerve cells, essentially cutting off their power supply. Large predatory fish like tuna, swordfish, shark, and king mackerel are the worst offenders because they're at the top of the food chain and accumulate all the mercury from the smaller fish they eat. A process called biomagnification that can result in mercury levels 100,000 times higher than the surrounding water. But it's not just fish. Tap water in many areas contains lead from old pipes, aluminum from water treatment processes, and cadmium from industrial runoff, all of which target and destroy nerve tissue. Rice, especially brown rice, often contains concerning levels of arsenic, another heavy metal that specifically attacks peripheral nerves, causing the burning and tingling sensations characteristic of neuropathy. Even seemingly harmless things like aluminum cookware, antiperspirants, and dental amalgam fillings are continuously exposing your nerves to heavy metals that accumulate over time. The symptoms of heavy metal nerve damage are often misdiagnosed because they mimic so many other conditions. chronic fatigue that doesn't improve with rest, brain fog that makes you feel like you're thinking through molasses, muscle weakness that comes and goes randomly, and strange sensations like feeling water dripping on your skin when nothing's there. The solution requires both eliminating exposure and actively removing accumulated metals from your system. Immediately switch to small wild-caught fish like sardines, anchovies, and wild salmon from Alaska, which have significantly lower mercury levels while still providing beneficial omega-3s. Install a high-quality water filter that specifically removes heavy metals, not just a basic carbon filter. And consider having your tap water tested to know exactly what you're dealing with. Start a gentle chelation protocol using natural chelators like chlorella, cilantro, and modified citrus pectin, taking them at least 30 minutes before meals to bind heavy metals in your gut before they can be absorbed. Increase your intake of sulfur-rich foods like garlic, onions, and cruciferous vegetables, which help your liver produce glutathione, your body's master detoxifier that's essential for removing heavy metals. Take 1,000 millimole of vitamin C daily, 400 international units of vitamin E, and 200 micrograms of selenium, which work together to protect your nerves from heavy metal damage while your body eliminates them. If you choose to continue drinking, limit yourself to no more than 2 to 3 drinks per week, always with food and never on consecutive days to give your nerves time to recover between exposures. Immediately begin supplementing with a high-quality B-complex vitamin, taking 100 milligrams of B1, 100 milligrams of B6, and 1,000 micrograms of B12 daily, along with 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate before bed to support nerve repair. Add 600 milligrams of alpha-lipoic acid and 500 milligrams of acetyl L-carnitine daily, which studies show can actually reverse alcohol-induced nerve damage when caught early enough. Increase your intake of foods rich in B vitamins and antioxidants, particularly grass-fed liver, pasture-raised eggs, wild-caught salmon, and colorful vegetables that provide the nutrients your nerves desperately need to heal. Consider milk. Thistle supplements 200 milligrams 3 times daily to support your liver's ability to detoxify alcohol and produce the proteins necessary for nerve health. Now brace yourself for the #1 nerve destroyer, something so common and so addictive that cutting it out might be the hardest thing you've ever done. Number 1, refined sugar and high fructose corn syrup. The bitter truth about sugar is that it's not just making you gain weight or giving you diabetes. It's literally caramelizing your nerves from the inside out through a process called glycation, where sugar molecules bind to proteins in your nerve tissue, creating toxic compounds that destroy nerve function and cause the burning, stabbing, tingling pain that millions of people suffer from every single day. When you consume refined sugar or high fructose corn syrup, your blood glucose spikes dramatically. And this excess glucose doesn't just float harmlessly in your bloodstream. It actively seeks out and damages the smallest, most vulnerable nerves first, which is why diabetic neuropathy typically starts in the feet and hands, where the tiniest nerve endings are located. Think of your nerves like delicate electrical cables and sugar whale like corrosive acid that slowly eats away at the insulation and eventually the wires themselves. Except this acid is sweet, addictive, and hidden in almost everything you eat. The American Diabetes Association's research is absolutely staggering. They found that blood sugar spikes of just 140 milligrams per distiller, which you can easily hit after a single soda or piece of cake, cause immediate and measurable damage to nerve fibers that can take weeks to repair if they repair at all. But here's what that University of Michigan study I mentioned earlier discovered that will blow your mind. When you combine sugar with caffeine, like in your morning coffee with sugar or energy drinks, it creates a synergistic effect that increases nerve inflammation by 800%, because caffeine enhances sugar absorption and amplifies its toxic effects on nerve tissue. What makes sugar particularly dangerous is that, unlike many other toxins that tend to target specific nerve groups, it does not limit its damage to just one area. Instead, it quietly affects every single nerve in your body at the same time. From the delicate optic nerves responsible for your vision, to the vagus nerve that plays a central role in controlling digestion and internal organ function, all the way to the peripheral nerves in your hands, feet, and extremities. None of them are spared. The impact is widespread, gradual, and often invisible in the early stages. And when it comes to high fructose corn syrup, the situation becomes even more concerning. This form of sugar behaves differently inside the body because it bypasses many of the normal metabolic checks and balances, overwhelming the liver and triggering the production of harmful compounds known as advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These substances act almost like microscopic abrasives, slowly wearing down and damaging nerve cells day and night without pause. Clinical observations, including findings often associated with institutions like the Mayo Clinic, suggest a strong connection between sugar intake and long-term nerve health. Individuals consuming more than about 25 grams of added sugar per day, which is actually less than what you'd find in a single can of soda, may face a dramatically increased risk of developing neuropathy over time, even if they never receive a diagnosis of diabetes. This is what makes sugar so deceptive. It doesn't always produce immediate or obvious consequences, allowing damage to build quietly in the background for years before symptoms become undeniable. What's even more troubling is how sugar creates a self-perpetuating cycle inside the body. As nerve damage begins, those nerves often become more sensitive, leading to increased pain signals. That persistent discomfort places the body under stress, which raises cortisol levels. Elevated cortisol then pushes blood sugar levels even higher, and those higher levels continue to fuel further nerve damage. It becomes a loop that feeds itself. Damage leading to stress, stress leading to more sugar imbalance, and imbalance causing even deeper deterioration. At the same time, sugar disrupts other critical systems that support nerve health. It feeds harmful bacteria and yeast in the gut, encouraging them to produce toxic byproducts that can negatively affect the nervous system. It also drains essential nutrients, particularly B vitamins, which are vital for maintaining and repairing nerve tissue. On top of that, it triggers widespread inflammation throughout the nervous system, creating an environment where healing becomes much more difficult. Even the body's natural repair mechanisms begin to slow down, making it harder to recover from the damage already done. The most concerning part is how quietly this process often begins. In the early stages, the symptoms can be so mild that they're easy to ignore or dismiss. You might notice a slight burning sensation in your feet at night, or a faint numbness and tingling in your fingers when you wake up in the morning. These sensations may come and go, making them seem harmless at first, but in reality, they are early warning signals, your nerves trying to alert you that something is wrong before the damage becomes permanent. Recognizing these signs early can make all the difference, because once nerve damage progresses beyond a certain point, it becomes far more difficult to reverse. Every meal, every drink, every food choice is either healing your nerves or destroying them. And now that you know the truth, you have the power to protect your nervous system and potentially reverse damage that's already begun. Remember, your nerves can regenerate and heal, but only if you stop poisoning them and start nourishing them with the right foods and nutrients. If this information helped you understand how to protect your nerves, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next video on the top foods that actually repair nerve damage. Thanks for watching.